The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple, and welcome to our broadcast today for Nadex. Today's session is going to be analyzing potential opportunities inside of the Nadex markets. I'll cover a couple different things, but I want to say I hope everybody had an absolutely wonderful weekend. July 4th is always fun. This year, I know it was rather tame for many people. I know for myself, at least, it was definitely tame. Definitely tame. I painted the deck, and that was about it. Nothing too exciting. So, but again, that's just what it called for this week or this year. So let's just dive right into things. There's a lot of stuff to cover. I also want to review some of the things that we covered last week. The analysis last week worked out pretty well, and I want to make sure that we follow up. As you guys know, my kind of goal and mission is always to give you guys some golden nuggets, whether it be for some education or some analysis. Last week, there was definitely a couple things after, and I really appreciate the great emails from people, asking for clarification after the fact. All right, so first things first, let's go right into who I am. If you guys are new, welcome to the group. I am the president and CEO of Keep Trading Simple. As the name suggests, my mission is kind of really to help simplify trading. Take a lot of the distractions out of the markets, because trust me, there are plenty of them out there. I started trading back at the end of the end of the tech bubble, kind of the middle to end of the tech bubble. So seeing the markets kind of crash, I learned pretty much in the beginning, self-taught, learning what not to do, got some books, realized they had nothing to do with the current markets, bought some classes, learned how to trade stocks and options, learned about the pattern day trading rule, found currencies, came through there, understood futures, ended up traveling around, became a financial advisor, learned it from the inside of this kind of world, learned about bonds and how basically it's a very varied background. I realized my true passion is helping teach people, and again, that's why I do these presentations to really help you guys get to another level inside of your trading. I traded a number of different systems. I've actually created a number of them, particularly with Nadex in mind. Some of the pros that are just absolutely perfect setups. Again, 30-minute traders, 5-minute binary courses, weekly levels, high volatility trading, obviously with COVID. That was a brand new class launched earlier this year. But first and foremost, I always like to point out I am a family man, so I am not one of these guys that sits in front of a computer for 18 hours a day. Embrace technology is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Use alerts, use your phone. Don't sit here all day. That's not the way that trading needs to be done. All right, so with that said, let's go into the disclaimers for today's presentation. Now, trading in Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors. Trading can be volatile, and investors risk losing the cost of another transaction, including fees. The information presented here within this presentation is for information and education purposes only, and should not be considered a solicitation to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Any trade decisions that you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Nadex contracts are based on underlying asset classes, including Forex, stock index futures, and commodity futures, and we will cover all three of those today. And Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. All right. First things first, let's go through. Whoops, we don't need to go that far. Look at that. We're already planning ahead there. The scroll is the mouse wheel is off today. It's like, no, it's only Tuesday. All right, first things first, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to cover the upcoming news events for the week. Last week was kind of shy. This week, a little bit better, but the middle of July is always kind of anemic, for lack of a better word, on news releases. We will cover things, and obviously the media is driving a lot of kind of what's happening inside of the markets. Tweets, press releases, any type of data point. Obviously, COVID is a big thing. I don't know if you guys saw that the mayor of Miami-Dade is shutting down restaurants and gyms again, just because the rates are getting a little bit too crazy, which is actually kind of a switchback from what he had said that we're not closing down, we're just going to bear it. Well, now he's had to kind of switch gears. So those type of events, but I'll cover those. Then we're going to dive into the indices. And with the indices in general, what I want to do is I want to make sure that you guys know where the overall markets are for the day, as well as going forward to the week. Obviously, with the markets extremely high like they are, I'll go over my biases. And the way to play this, and again, you guys may have heard me say this before, I believe right now that we are in a trader's market. We're not necessarily in an investor's market or a swing trader's market. I guess investing we could be, but I think it'd be a little bit volatile going forward. But we're in a trader's market, meaning that the lower time frames are really what's just zinging home right now, right? Anything could happen right now inside of the markets. There could be an absolutely earth-shattering news release, something along, and again, this is just purely hypothetical, but what happens if they release, the CDC or the WHO announced tomorrow that just because you had COVID once means you're highly likely to get another version of it later. I mean, it could be crazy, right? Markets could just tank instantly. So I believe it's a trader's market. And again, understanding where the indices are makes sense. Forex, obviously it's a global pandemic. You may not be a currencies trader. You may not even like currencies, but again, you should never have a bias with the asset that you're trading. We're going to dive into currencies because there's a lot of things happening overseas right now, a lot of trading opportunity. And again, currencies is 24 hours a day. We're not limited by the time constraints for regular indices. And then last but not least, we'll cover commodities. I will cover gold, which gold has just been absolutely nuts in the last week. Straight up, straight down. It's literally been like it's sitting on a box of fireworks, right? Silver as well, and then I will also cover oil. Oil actually had a great trade last week. The inventory was it was nuts. It was unexpected. A setup that we talked about for the overnight ended up triggering in the middle of the night and was actually done before the morning. And I got a few emails about clarification on how I came up with that level, and I'll actually cover it today for you guys. All right. So with that being said, let me drag in my favorite news website. And again, I use many different news websites, guys. Oops, not that one. This one right here. Okay. Forex Factor, I use it primarily for the scanner at the top. And again, you guys can see, obviously in the overnight, the biggest mover in the last 24 hours has been the pound, up 93, up 105 as far as kind of big movers. Now, this is about news, so let's dive right into the bottom section right here. And again, you guys can see everything else is flat. Early morning today on Tuesday, we had the cash rate for the Aussie. Didn't expect to change. Didn't really, again, you guys can see that the Aussie didn't move in any response to it. Today, we have economic forecasts coming out of the EU. Economic forecasts are one of those things that they get released throughout the day, and it's not one of these things that we know that it's going to come out at a specific time. Are they helpful? Yes. Is there ways to prepare for them ahead of time? No, not necessarily. But they're important to know because they can change the kind of fundamental background of a currency. Something, obviously, in Europe, we could see demand levels or, just really, I mean, manufacturing in Germany is always a big one. But understanding what their kind of, quote, Fed is believing what the economic conditions are going to look like in the next 6 months to a year, always kind of important because the market will readjust to that, no matter what country we're talking about, all right? Obviously, tomorrow, again, we have crude oil inventories. You can see last week we were down 7.2 million barrels. Okay, the forecast on that one, we were supposed to be only down 0.9 million. So quite a large miss there, right? Quite a large miss. So again, we'll see what that one looks like in the charts. Thursday, and it's amazing, we're already after the 9th. We have Eurogroup meetings and then the unemployment claims numbers. Now, unemployment actually has been pretty good. We've seen some major surprises on that one. Non-farm last week was an example of some of the kind of the misforecasts, for lack of a better word. So again, it'll be interesting to see what this is as this number keeps coming down and down and down. With talk of areas reclosing, this could start spiking again, right? I mean, think about it. If they're closing down all indoor dining, all gyms, all fitness facilities inside of Southern Florida, will people be going back on unemployment? Of course, if things are being closed down again. So we could start seeing some major spikes here again, which flows over into the indices as well as the dollar and the currency markets, okay? And then Friday is really our best day for economic news releases. And again, it's all at 8:30 in the morning. So this one will kind of run out pretty quickly. And again, it's summer, the old saying, sell in May, go away. But we have some unemployment numbers in for Canada, which will be kind of interesting. They're forecasting 550. And then obviously some PPI data, inflation month over month. So it's this is a pure COVID kind of data point. And this will kind of set the tone for what the indices are going to look like as well as currencies on Friday. But that's it, guys. This is all the news for this week. So all the other news that we're looking for, and again, if you want to scroll down, you can always check into what the latest news is, right? And you can see over here, Florida cases raised 3.6 versus previous day 7 average of 5. So slightly down. But again, they're starting to close things. And again, this average of 5% was quite a lot. And again, big areas is going to be the hottest stories, right? The hottest stories. And again, we're talking about monetary policy. And again, you're talking about some other things. And this is the type of news that you'll see the big news outlets out there, the MSNBCs, the CNBCs, this is what they're going to talk about, that, when you see things in this area. And like I said, data from Florida is a big deal because they're just the first one. Texas started the shut back down again. California started the shut back down again. We'll kind of see if that trend's going to continue. I know in Maryland we're holding pretty good. We haven't really had any spike this kind of what they are quoting the second round. So we're looking good. All right. So with that, let's go over and let's pull this over here and let's go up and go over to the indices. So first things first, let's go to the NQ. All right. NQ has been, looking at this on a daily basis, guys, NQ has been the driving force. Okay. Over here at highs, we've never seen these numbers before. Again, getting some, decent pullbacks. And where we were last week was over here. And what I mentioned is, we're kind of a small zone, but what we need to do is we need to focus on areas where we would see what we would call a failure to go higher. I did say this is not something that I'd want to just blatantly be stepping in to take shorts in. And again, you guys can see what the response was. It was just continuing to push, continuing to push, continuing to push. We were looking for that specific quote failure to go higher. And right here, we needed to get to it. We had some levels over here that weren't bad, but this had been tested. This is one little level here that we had talked about, and you can see that it had a little bit of a sticking problem in here. But for the most part, we were looking for pullbacks and pushes a bit higher, okay? And we continue to get that. Now, you can see there was actually an early morning trade today. That trade actually kicked in at about 6 o'clock in this morning. And again, price was pulling back early morning to an area where not only did we have a gap, but we actually had some ascending wicks. And again, that's something we focus on, and a push up. It looks like right now it's starting to retrace again. And that, again, that coincides with what we see typically at that, that 10 o'clock in the morning reversal, right? So we'll see how this one flips. Right here, it's a little bit late. It's about 11 o'clock reversal on this one. But I would say right now, if I had to make a call, it looks like it's going to continue at least through the lunchtime hour to continue to push lower. Obviously, no short entry in this one. The top of the way this formed up top is actually not horrible. I like that this kind of pushed up at base and then got kind of slammed back down again. So this may be an area to watch right now. Let me change this to white so it doesn't look like everybody's like, hey, we're going long. No, it's just an area that we want to be cautious of. If we continue to base around here and this comes back up again, there may be a short opportunity later on this afternoon, okay? Now, as you can see, this was not a failure to go higher. It did kind of pull back, but we didn't get that immediate retest, and it ended up punching through the top. So it basically has to base here and then make it an attempt up and touch, not come down, base, and then drop, in which case it'd be invalidated. The level down here where we had the turn earlier this morning, approximately down here at 10,536, it's probably good for one more long, depending on when it hits time-wise. If we can get into that area before kind of the end of day rally, actually one of my students who's also a Nadex trader, he's been just crushing the end of day rallies. This could be an interesting level for an end of day rally, pop and then kind of rally at the end for that kind of push. But again, remember, we're talking about hourly levels, so this is nothing that will kind of withhold some type of big maybe tweet or some type of big emergency release or something. But again, for an end of the day rally, trying to end on a positive note, or at least closing somewhat higher, that could be a potential area for long today. Now, switching gears, going across the S&P. The S&P, you can see we're getting there, but we're not quite all the way up yet. Okay, there's a level that we had talked about last week. You guys can see it on a 4-hour here. That price is kind of based and then got launched away. We weren't able to make it up. Again, this one faltered a little bit more last week. We kind of pushed down. We took a pop, but really we're unable to get many entries in this one, really clean entries. Right now, there's a zone a bit higher, but again, just like the NQ, it looks like it's already starting to flip, okay? Not much we can do about, things that are flipping a bit early. It is what it is. We have a level, if it's an if this, then that type entry. Not really much else we can do on that one, right? And just that's the way that it is. That's the way that it is. I don't think I would take it long off the bottom, unfortunately. It is bouncing off a little bit of a level, but again, it was very, very low. Let's see. Yeah, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why we were kind of basing. What I'd probably do is I'd wait to see if we can get back down to this level down here at 31.21-ish. Again, make sure that your pricing matches, okay? Yeah, for right now, I'd probably wait. I think, kind of waiting and kind of using this as a 31.85-ish area and then 31.30, I'm sorry, 31.21 on the bottom side is probably all right. This turn is in the middle at 3 o'clock, is when that zone was formed, so it's not really the strongest zone. Um, let me go back and let me see. Probably tomorrow morning would be the best time. Okay, so like I said in the last one, end of day, we could either have a rally or drop. Depending on if we're high or low, that may give us the best bounce. I'm afraid this is going to be too far of a run down, though, to make it there. I think NQ gives us a better ability over here to get to this before the end of day rally. I don't know that this is going to do the same thing. And again, there's a zone sitting right above, so this 31.85 is not really ideal. It's a smaller time frame target or smaller time frame entry. I'm still holding for, a bit higher up here at the 32.19-ish, about, 100 points from, the bottom level here. I think that's the ideal level to be getting short. And again, that's been a tested level. Okay. Looking across at the Dow. So as you can see, this yellow dot is where we were last week. We had marked off this level here. And again, this could be the golden nugget for many of you. If you guys have not heard me talk about this before, what a wick over wick is. It's basically a way to find pullbacks on lower time frames, but seeing it on a larger time frame. And we marked off when we said, hey, listen, there's a zone here. If we hit, there could be a potential entry. It was actually another one up top as well. We ended up going up, missing this first one, hit it, and ended up hitting all the way down to 1/5 before it ended up reversing higher. So again, this would have been off of last week's analysis session. This higher one actually was a zone here as well, and we did mark that off, but we had marked off a zone just a bit higher, this 4-hour level, which is his dotted zone up here. And you can see that's provided us some, obviously, potential. The zone that we marked higher as well was actually sitting right there. And you can see that one has come off and has actually hit its full profit target. This is one that we also mentioned last week. And you can see, and I'll go all the way up right there. You can see that one just about bounced around its 1 to 3 risk to reward as well. As far as this one going lower, I would have to agree that just like the NQ as well as the S&P, this one turned earlier in kind of a level that was formed in the middle of the night, so it wasn't necessarily the best quality level to be turning in. I think this one has some more room to run back lower. And again, will it make this lower level here? No, that was the one we talked about last week. But most likely down here around 25,685 is probably where we're going to see a bounce. This was a big turning point. I would actually probably draw the level more probably in there. I think that would be a little bit safer of an entry down here in this 25,553-ish range. As you can see, again, this went pretty deep and this one barely touched. And again, this was obviously in a downtrend. We touched and immediately found buyers and launched it all the way back up again. So it looks like we'll find some buyers. I know we got a bit of ways to run on that one. It may be a target for later in the week. Again, keep that one on your radar. And again, we're going down the lower time frames. I would say that I am also pretty much bearish at this point for the rest of today. Yeah, I don't even know that I would take this higher one again. I think this was our one shot at this one. Again, based off of this hourly level of supply, we ended up hitting and dropping. So it's a bit, at this point, it's a bit too late. This would have been something we needed to set up yesterday. All right. And I just don't think I would take that. I think what I would use is this level up top here around 26,467. I think that would be the next place I'm looking to get short. So kind of no man's land right here in the middle. I'd be bearish in the rest of, for the rest of today. Okay. All right, let's go down and look at the currencies. So the currencies as of last week, guys, here was a level that we had taught. This is where we were, the yellow dot. I went out there to make sure that this was easy for you guys to see. We mentioned that we had a rollover area, a place where we had basing and it started to pull off. We had some tests into that level and it dropped away, as you guys can see. There was your NC drop, and this entire move happened in about 3 hours, 2 hours. Actually, either way, it would have worked, whether you got in at this hourly or that one. Again, remember, a lot of these zones, particularly in the currencies, they're great on the 2-hour binary. So you can see this one took about 2 hours, but move quite a bit of a distance. You're talking about 28 pips. The 2 hours don't have the largest spread differential. And again, this is binaries. You can see we had the same situation here. And again, it ended up triggering again, going lower. In the traditional world with spot currency, it would have been stopped out. But had you taken the same level again inside of Nadex, particularly with a binary, you would not have gotten stopped out, because remember, there's no technical stop out point with a binary. And again, you can see this will move quite a bit of a distance, about 40 pips to the downside. So again, coincided with news. Nice setup for a binary. Now, going to where we are right now, you guys can see there's a dotted line right here. And this is a 4-hour level. This is currently the hourly chart. We really don't have much until we get up into that zone. And looking back at it, there's really not too much there. The way that this was formed, it was a very large news burst kind of up and down that formed that 4-hour level. So I wouldn't say it's really the best area. Kind of hard to dial that down and kind of hard to keep the risk lower, right? It's about a 62 pip area. Not taking 62 pips worth of risk on this one. So what I would say right now is wait for a lower level to form. There's kind of some consolidation going on this one. Daily ATRs, you guys can see, is really kind of flattening back down again. The daily ATR is only 72. So getting small, high on the curve, I would say that I am more bearish, kind of biased in this case. Looking for this one to kind of turn and roll back over at some point. But I don't have a good true entry right now based off of the way that this formed. But again, when price reaches approximately 0.70, I'm going to be looking for failure to go higher, and I'm going to be looking to take this one short. Looking over at the Aussie Yen. Okay, so Aussie Yen is also in a similar position. It does have some levels in on the higher time frames. Again, large area. Actually, you guys can see the dotted line coming in right here. You guys see the dotted line? It's showing that that's the 4-hour zone, and you can see this one is a huge. Same setup, right? Where did it come from? A news spike. So the candles are quite large and quite unruly. So probably thinking the same thing. Around 75.23, I'd be looking, for short entries. The way to play this one would most likely be in binaries. It depends when it hits. The news, obviously, this morning was the cash rate down here. That gave us an initial bounce, although we didn't quite get entry. Again, a lot of consolidation in this one. Probably play this one the same way. If we get up there, look for a failure to go higher as we have a burst up, and then the next push does not come as high and fails. That establishes our risk. Time that one, and again, this could be done with a binary, or you could do this one actually with a call spread as well. If you can get in around the ceiling, right? You'd be looking to do a ceiling short. Aussie doesn't really have that much news this week, but being the Aussie Yen, this one will move based off of the indices in the United States. All right, so the yen is associated with the Dow. So that will give us one potential setup. So what I would do is I would mark off at this point where this was established, probably 74. So 75.24, 75.25-ish area probably is where you want to start looking for short entries. Again, with binaries, use a little bit farther out of the money to lower that risk, or use a call spread in that case. And then down here at 74, again, it's about 100 pips lower. Also be looking for longs, look for the floors of call spreads, as well as using out of the money binaries for a pop. If you can get this one around any type of US Open or any type of news, 8:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning at either of these two numbers, those will be triggers. Play the US Open, play the reversal 10 a.m., or look at 8:30 news times. Those will be the best entries as far as times go. Again, you're not marrying yourself for 18 hours. You're focusing on basically an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, and that would be off of this pair. Now, Euro Yen. Euro Yen, guys, you can see here's the yellow dot. We had a level just higher than where we were, and as you can see, it ended up triggering. Later on, let's see, this one triggered about 10 o'clock at night last Tuesday. You guys can see this one really pushed away, and not only did it hit here one time, it actually ended up hitting a second time over here as well. Okay, so either of the 2 days that, again, this one hit on the second. So this one had multiple opportunities, and as we talked about, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then ended up breaking and using that same level higher. Where we are right now is a bit of consolidation. You can see some sideways movement in this one. It did go back up and grab a level on the hourly, but that happened on the 6th. Happened yesterday afternoon. Really not too much going there. Actually, that was yesterday morning at about 7 a.m. Right now, we've done nothing in the last 24 hours. It's more or less consolidating. A lot of that has to do with no news. A little bit of a pop this morning and then a retrace back. So there's just nothing driving this pair right now. We really need at this point, we need for the Dow to just go insane, go up, go down, some type of crazy news. And again, maybe it's that, again, EU European forecast. Maybe it is, we hear some type of news release from this. Somebody says something, the ECB says something, that does have the potential to kind of start moving this again for us. But based off the level that we had last week, I think this upper level here around 121.88. Again, it's already shown that it gave us one entry. We may be able to get another entry. And actually, let me drop down a little bit lower. Yeah, this 121.88 is probably fine. Again, this was able to lower our risk a bit. Instead of taking the full zone, it gives us let's see, what do we got here? About 16, 17 pip risk. So much better entry. And again, but right now there's no trend, no nothing. And again, you just don't trade these markets that are just this flat. But I think 121.88 is a good area. Buying wise, I'd probably be looking at levels down here, and that would be a 4-hour level at 120.72. All right, top and bottom of those two. And again, there is a bit of an aggressive entry down here, just a bit higher, sitting here at 120.85. But I think a little bit more conservative. And again, risk is always my primary focus. I think 120.72, which is actually a 4-hour level where we had basing and a pop, I think would give us a little bit better of a risk to reward ratio entry. So 121.88, 120.72 on the bottom. Now pound yen. Pound yen is continuing to push, but hasn't really given us too much here. There is a zone a bit higher on the hourly, and that's what I'm waiting for it to get up to. This one is kind of a, what is it? A lesson in patience. Okay, as you can see, last week, not a whole lot. We were sitting right here. I guess I didn't yellow dot this one. We were sitting right here last week, and as you can see, it basically spent the entire week. I mean, it dropped a little bit and came back, formed a new level here, right at that same level, kind of went up again and rallied again. So this is rallying up. In the next 24 hours, I would actually, if this doesn't break a new high, this would be a fair to go higher. Let's see, on a 30-minute. Yeah, it's trying to form it right now, right? It's trying to find its peak. This may be kind of where the top is. We'll see. But I would say in the next, at least till the London Open tomorrow morning, to me, this looks like this one wants to retrace back a bit. And again, that could be the yen. It did push, but it didn't really go much higher. Now we're seeing, basically an hour worth of red. This one does look like it wants to go lower, but I don't think there's really a clean buying level until we get back down to 134.11. If you guys hear the dog barking, I apologize. The mic picks up a lot. It's a Great Dane. She's not a big Great Dane, but we have deer now that are running through the yard, and she's like, "Oh, my friends, I want to go play." So there's no way to, unfortunately, that bark is just, it's crazy loud. All right, so 136.05 and 134.11 for me are the buying and selling. If you guys are more intraday traders looking for something small, I do think there could, and again, it's not set up yet, there could be a short up here at 135.24 setting up. And again, I'd like to see one more base candle and then come up and retest. It does give you rather small risk. It's about 18 pips. Again, there are ways to play this one with 2-hour binaries as well as call spreads that may give us, some nice potential opportunity on that one. Oops, I got this over here. How do I log into the new platform? Oh, he left already. He's probably logging in. All right, so go to old. There we go. All right. Pound. So here is our yellow dot. You guys can see where we're at. This pair has moved, and a lot of this has to do with the dollar weakness coming in, but also pound strength like we've seen against the other pairs. This one has been pushing, and pushing. And this is what I'm talking about. You don't want to necessarily get in front of kind of a moving train, right? So where we were last week, you can see we had just left a level low. We pushed up, and again, there was a level of basing here. So this was really the only big entry that we had. There's a few levels, and again, on the 4-hour, we can see that we saw there was going to be something here, right? We knew that there was going to be something in this area, right? Here, and again, that's probably more of a retest of kind of this level right here. And again, here was one, here was the second one, kind of dropping a bit lower. At this point, I don't think we're really due for any type of a short position in the pound. Pound dollar at least up in that area. Bottom side, I'd be using probably this, and again, on the lower time frame, yeah, that's probably fine. You can see that's where we had a takeoff point. So long and short on this one, I'd be looking at 126.45 is of an area where I'd be looking to get short, and a 124.61 looking to get long. And again, this is a knockout, so you can use the knockout brackets here, top or bottom. Again, when we get down to that level, okay. Lower time frame, again, if you're looking to trade something intraday, I had to reset everything on there. We could be looking for a retracement as well. This one also has kind of the same setup, the same kind of candle formations. There's a potential area there. We've had 2 pushes down. This one did go a bit deeper. So let's see if we can get a little bit more white space and then a rally up. The risk level on this one is only about 14 pips, so it is low. And again, it's not set up yet, but that could be a potential short coming in here at 125.75. All right. It's not a bad level. And again, this has been pretty much straight up since this morning. And again, you can see the level that we drew here on the 4-hour level is actually what the trigger was this morning. At about 5:30 this morning. So not necessarily the London Open, but kind of the London Open reversal time. All right. But I would say right now it looks like we're for the rest of the day, it looks like we could be this one could be pushing back down. I'd like for it to just take one more shot back up and give us that entry though. Let's see, where's your let's see, 1 to 3 on that one. Yeah, that's decent. That's not a bad little right there. And again, that's if we get the pullback, guys. If we get the pullback. Okay. All right, going across to the euro pound. All right, so euro pound, we had marked off, this is where we were last week, and there was a bit of an entry here. I don't know if we marked it on the higher time frame or not. Yeah, basically, we had marked this level off, and this is where price was. We didn't really have a true entry. There wasn't much. We talked about how there was not much stopping it. This one would continue to push lower, and you can see it had a lot of issues, right? A lot of sideways movement, a lot of a lot of chopping back and forth at the gap point, okay? If you remember marking off saying, hey, listen, if we can break this, we got this whole area to overtake, okay? It ended up moving down about 45, 50 pips, about 40 pips down. We're not looking for buys in the euro pound until we get down to 89.46, okay? Now, this is an interesting situation because the pound, we needed to go a little bit higher before we have a turnaround point, yes? Pound dollar, we also, again, before we get to we have this small time frame, the smaller time frame kind of intraday trade, but we need price to go higher on the larger time frame to get a reversal. And then the same thing here, we need to go a bit lower. So it's kind of set up across 3 time frames. You guys remember before how we were linking the Aussie dollar, the Aussie yen, and then the yen was linking in the euro yen, the pound yen, and the dollar yen. This is kind of doing the same linking, only this time it is the pound. The pound yen needs to go higher to hit that 4-hour supply zone for selling. The pound dollar has that same 4-hour zone above that we need a little bit more push, oomph, to get there for selling. This one has a little bit more push, that pound strength, to go a little bit lower before we have buying here as well. So all 3 of them are set up in the same way. A little bit more pound strength before we hit an area of pound selling. Okay. Let's shift gears. Let's go over to the euro dollar. Now, euro dollar has only moved 12 pips in 24 hours, right? Only moved 12 pips in 24 hours. You can see the pound has really been the driving force. Again, pound strength, pound strength, pound strength, euro basically nothing, dollar basically nothing, dollar basically nothing, dollar basically nothing, dollar basically nothing. Okay, so euro dollar, I don't really see a whole lot on this one. As you can see, there's a level up top. The level, here's where we were last week. I'll drop this down to 30-minute to see it a little bit better. I refresh this one. You guys can see, look at this. Not a whole, from where we were last week, we're up about 60 pips in 7 days. Okay, we talked about selling here at 113.16, and that's kind of the range that it came into, and it's kind of pushed back down again. I wouldn't call this one really trending. As you guys can see, it's hit some of the hourly levels up top, and that's what we bounced off of. We had marked off this zone as looking for the potential sellers, and it did push it to the end. No real trend, guys, at this point. What I would do is I would say, listen, if we can get up into this 113.78, I'd be good with that level there. If we can get down to really kind of 111.94, kind of the same idea, right? Going back to a 4-hour, we can see this is kind of the bottom of the range. This is kind of the top of the range, using kind of this as my, if we're in this bottom third, again, that's where I'm buying, right? Or I'm more bullish focused. When we're kind of in this third up here, and again, I would change this to more of a pinkish color. I would say, hey, listen, that's more of the area where I'm kind of focused more on selling. I'm more bearish minded. And in the middle, I'm kind of in no man's land. And you can see we're kind of sitting in no man's land right now. So, at this point, again, this would be another one of those lessons in patience. Let's wait till we get up to 113.80 or 111.94. Those are to give us the, the best kind of chances for, decent entries. And it's about 80 pips, top or bottom, either way. It has a daily ATR of about 80. So this is probably more a tomorrow afternoon thing than anything else, unless we get some big earth-shattering news. And again, sometimes in the summer, in 24 hours, it's only moved 15 pips. That can happen, guys. Sometimes things just don't move. So you try to get the best opportunities you can. And this one is not really, in a position where we're, lining up for something great. So Dollar CAD. So this is where we were last week, and we talked about this was a potential area of basing. We also gave you a level lower that if price entered this area, we were looking to go long, okay? Here was that entry of that, again, that was formed. This was the first thing that we talked about, that again, large drop, if it did not retrace, that would give us an area where sellers were stepping in, and it didn't retrace, right? It continued to fall all the way down to this lower level, meaning that there was your short, and again, immediately pop up, news-based pop, drop all the way back down again and continue to go lower. So there was the short off of last week's analysis. As we mentioned, here was the level on the downside that if we got there, although it wasn't the lowest of low levels, it was an area where price had proven that buyers were going to step in. Here was your level. Okay, price came down, tagged your level, came up and retested that level, and then it went all the way up to your 1 to 3, didn't quite make it to the 1 to 5. Now, the reason I'm showing you this, guys, is also this is that ideal failure to go lower, right? We get a push, it retraces up to grab more orders, makes another attempt down and does not break, and gave us an entry. So here was your failure to go lower. And this not only hit your 1 to 3, it came back up, almost gave you a second entry before it tagged your 1 to 5. Okay, so again, there was multiple different ways to enter this one. And actually, yeah, you would have missed it had you not taken it here. Okay, but again, this is that ideal setup for the failure to go lower. All right. All right. So where we are now, we do know that there is a level sitting right here. It has been pushed pretty far. Typically, that wick over wick, or that kind of that drop base drop. This one drove pretty deep, as you can see. It went about 70, 75, maybe 80% of the way into the zone. I typically am a bit more hesitant towards those. If this continues to push higher, most likely it's going to hit in an off hour. Not always the best. Remember, there's really no CAD news right now until Friday, right? That's the first Canadian news we have coming in. So this could be a level for later in the week. Ideally, we'd like it to be top or bottom in this range. And again, that's more of a 4-hour base range, top or bottom, because you can see the all side basing. But we will be looking for news later in the week is the 136.85, the 135.01, or again, we could use this level here. Now, again, remember, this guy's 1, 2, basically 3, 4 tested. Actually, 1, 2, 3 popped out again. 4 is where the break occurred, okay? And then that's where we continue to push lower. So again, this one was great here. It hit its 4 times and should be taken off. This one has only been tested once, so it's still probably valid. What I would do is I would wait for, if we can get down to 135.04 longs, shorts up here at 136.85. If you want to be aggressive, again, there is these over here at the, the 136.14. And again, risk on that is only about 11, 12 pips, rather small. Again, you're taking this in the binary realm or the call spread realm, okay? Knockout, you wouldn't be taking it with knockouts. How do you set up these without watching the computer all day? Great, Jill, thank you so much for asking that question. Here's how I do it, okay? There are many ways, depending on the platform you're using. I always get asked, what charts am I using? This is MT4, okay? It's an open source platform. All brokers have it. As you guys know, Nadex is part of the IG group. When you guys see, I always try to make sure that it's positioned there, but on Forex Factor, you can see, they do advertising. If you click on this for the IG group, it'll go across. You guys can get a copy of MT4, okay, if your platform doesn't do it. Here's how I do it. Inside of MT4, I have the ability to set alerts, okay? I can do, let's see, it's view terminal down here. Oh, it's not that one. That was backtesting. Terminal. See how I have this ability to do alerts down here? What I can do is I can say, hey, listen, as price is getting up to 136.14, I can say, okay, I need at least that much room. Okay, that means price is when it gets to 136.04. So all I do is what you do is you can create an alerts. And what I do is I have this set up. So what it does is it does mail. So it emails me when the price is 1.3604. Okay. I tell it to only alert me one time because you want to make sure you don't get a million emails. And then all I do is I hit OK. All right. And I can do when price. These don't really necessarily, not as important. I was going to say, I thought this one had this, but you can set it up a couple different ways, depending on if you're long or short, right? If you're long or short. I'll just leave that there. So basically what would happen is as soon as the bid got up to that level, bam, it hits it. And again, set it appropriately, whether you're going to be looking at bid or ask. I actually have a couple different ways I do it with the bid and the ask. Again, depends if you're going long or short. But what you do is you set an alert, take the alert, put it there, have an alert you when price is getting. Now, could it turn here and could it be wasted time? Sure. But for the most part, what happens is I just get alerts that get sent to me and say, oh, hey, listen, it's approaching. Come back and check it out. And then say, okay, price is here. Do I still like this zone or has it based? Do I not like it? No, I don't like it. Don't take it. If it alerts me, then it's like, okay, yep, good. Take it. I think notifications to MT4 app works best. Yeah, I have it email me personally, but you can also have the app on your phone and do that way. Inside of IG, so kind of the same thing. I haven't used this one. I will show you another way to do this if you guys are unfamiliar with it. And again, you don't have to use MT4 if you don't like. If you guys want to stay over inside of the Nadex family, again, go over to IG. And again, particularly for currencies, again, this is a currency-based broker. You can do the same thing in here. And again, I haven't logged in, so this is kind of messy, but here's my one workspace, right? What you can do in here is this also has an alert function. So you can set an alert for price range or price when in this case, say we wanted to do this at 90, right? 0.9000, price reached level. Whoops, it helps when you spell it right. And it doesn't necessarily matter. And this would be a 0.9000. So when it hit that level, right? Price level, oh, I'm sorry. Yep, price, boom, alert goes in. So when price reaches that level, I'm gonna get an alert. And what it will do is this will alert you here. If you're not at the computer, I believe you can also log into the Nadex app on your phone and, I'm sorry, the IG, and it will also notify you on your phone, okay? So again, I'm just using the tools available with Nadex. Many platforms have different ways that you can do this to set an alert. I prefer email personally. Some people like a notification to their phone. I like the actual email alert itself, okay? All right, let's go back down. Let me delete this, get that out of the way. We don't need the terminal. All right, dollar yen. So, dollar yen. We were sitting here last week and I mentioned if we can get just a little tiny bit higher, 108.13, as you can see, we came up and ended up going to 108.16, right? Went just slightly higher. That gave us our entry, but for the most part, here's where we were last week. Right now, we are 25 pips down. So this one has just not been the biggest mover. I'm kind of just, I can't say angry because it didn't do anything wrong, but it's only moved 6 pips in 24 hours. I think if I do this one over like the last 48 won't work. Yeah, basically it hasn't really moved. Last week we had this one pop into that range we talked about selling and it's flat. It's not really doing a whole lot. We're just stuck, right? We're kind of in the same area. So 108.13 is still an area, and again, probably even a little bit higher at this point, maybe 108.25. That's where I'd be looking to go long, looking to take, shorts off of 108.25, longs over 106.79. But this is kind of what it looks like. Here's the daily ATR. I mean, it's basically flatlined, okay? The daily ATR is 55 pips right now. Now, you may say, hey, listen, 55 pips, why, what would I do with 55 pips? And you can say, okay, why does 55 pips matters? I'll show you in one sec, okay? Let me go into the platform, euro, dollar, daily. Here is why 55 pip matters. The strike differential is 20. Okay, so if it's only on average moving 55 pips, you're going from here to maybe here. That would be 40 pips if that's in a good day, if it matches within the time. Okay, remember, things you need to worry about with Nadex is not only time, but also price. If it doesn't have enough room to run, if there's no, and again, 55 pips is with some big candles in here. If there's a catalyst to make it move, that increases your odds of having it move far enough for the binary to be, going from out of the money or at the money in the money, right? If it's not moving, if there's no catalyst, it may take another 2 days for it to actually hit that price level. You weren't wrong. It's just the time expiration value got it. So again, that's why this pair has not been my favorite one in recent weeks. It just hasn't been really moving, hasn't had great of opportunity. The indices have been better, and then other currency pairs, particularly the pound, is moving much, much more. Okay, now dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss, we were sitting here last week. We talked about an entry higher. We just never got up to that entry, so I'll clear it off the board so we can see a little bit more. But this is where we were, as you can see on the hourly. We've had some price go up. There's been kind of some indecision, some news-based candles in here, some basing. One level we did talk about was this level down here at the bottom, right? down here at 93.85. We had price enter the area and kind of give us a nice pop off of it. On the 4-hour, this one's kind of also been channeling. And you guys remember I drew this box last week and I said, hey, listen, we've been kind of stuck inside of this range, right? We're still stuck. We haven't really moved out of that range. We are on the lower side, so we are kind of pushing a bit deeper. Not much movement in this one either, right? I mean, this one has moved just like the dollar yen, 3 pips in 24 hours. So there's just not enough meat on this one. There has been some great setups during the day, but it's basically just one trade setup. Really kind of just one a day is all we've been able to grab out of it. Not much more than that. Where we are right now, I wouldn't say that we're at a great buying or great selling. This 93.85 is an area that's not bad. This area up top, and again, let me actually bring this up a little bit higher. We'll do it off the hourly, probably the best. You can see price did push up. There was an area of basing in kind of this range right here, right? So this is probably valid. If anything, I may just try to tighten up a bit. Let's see. It's about 6 pips worth. Probably in there. I would label this as an aggressive entry. Okay, there's a bit of an aggressive entry here at 94.47, and then a bit higher. There's a better one at 94.63. Okay, it's not a peak. Obviously, that's going to be way up here, but I mean that's 115 pips. The daily ATR on this one is only 54, so it's rather low. If anything, I'd be looking for again levels lower, probably to collapse. In this case, we're still about 36 pips away. We're about a day away. Not too many setups on this one as well. And again, this is what happens. This is summer. All right. Now gold. Let's go to the exciting. Look at gold. Look at this. Gold has been the exciting pair. Here's where we were last week. Okay. Right after that, remember, we had a big spike up. And again, this was news-based. It came across Wednesday. FOMC came in, or actually all the unemployment news. And then again, we popped back up again. And then just kind of got flat. And then obviously yesterday, actually today, this morning, we've had a nice rally. Okay. This has been a nice move. So these were things that I pushed for my guys last week. This level ended up getting blown. 1752 on the bottom, I think, is still a valid target. We were unable to get lower. High-wise, you can see that there was this bit right here, right? That was a level that we had marked off, and we did take a nice bounce off of that from, again, this was set last week. This was set on the 1st, okay, so a little bit after us. Right now, with where it is, all we're looking for is either a new kind of collapse to give us a level at the top, or on the shorter term, if I already go higher. Okay, right now, see on a 30-minute, we don't really have it right now. It's not quite there yet. It may turn into one, but we're not quite there. We may, here, I'll go to an hourly. It may turn into this, but we're not there. We need this. If this does what this did, then it's valid. Okay. If it pushes down into, say, like this level here, let me change this the color here just to make this a little. If we can push into this level, maybe down into here, and then we push back up, then we can take that short. Okay. But right now, we need price to kind of continue to fall a bit and then come back up, in 17.94 would be the entry. So it's not set up ideally right now. We're not there. It may turn into another scenario where we have this, but this is one you're gonna have to watch. What I would do is I would let this one marinate, kind of see where this one is at the close of the day, kind of see where we're at, see if we pulled back. Remember, this one can get very, very spiky. It can move quite a bit. Again, this is in a 2-hour period of time, this is a $20 difference. So it can move when it needs to be in the right area. 4-hour wise, you can see, again, very, very high. Nothing else is close. We're looking for this one to come a bit lower. Okay. It looks like, yeah, that was an old one. Yep. So if we can get something in this one, go for it. But we need a good entry. And again, we don't have it right now. This is not the ideal zone setup yet. We're not quite there yet. So, but I just wanted to prep you guys. If this does turn and flip like this, there may be some up here at 17.95. If we get the flip, if we get the push down into this range. Okay. If this, then that. Okay. That could be a tomorrow thing. Look at silver. So here's where we were silver. Silver ended up going up a bit higher. This one was one that, on the higher time frames, we were waiting for this to, really get the jump. And it still has been unable to follow gold's path and go higher back up to this 1875. It didn't really drop. It did spend most of the week kind of pushing. Again, we do have this kind of Harry Potter lower. Haven't gotten the opportunity. I mean, it's just really kind of played the center of this channel. You know, right now, this is what we're looking at. You guys can see there was a couple entries this morning on the 30-minute. You know, a bit busier on this one. You know, here is that third. Again, this is that same thing. Gold, if it does this, like silver did here, that's where we're getting the entries. Now, for silver, this one is probably valid for one more shot. And again, this is an intraday thing. It looks like right now we're in a failure to go higher. It did push up, pulled lower, ended up not going as high. It does look like silver is going to roll over and continue to push to the downside, at least for the rest of the day. That's what we got. You know, that's what the chart's giving us right now. That 1875 is a bit higher. So here's where we were. Nothing but basing. Again, failure to go up on entry, drop all the way down, grab the opposing level, came back up again. At this point, I would do the same thing. You know, if gold and silver both do this kind of flip and push down, it's given us two good entries for later on the week. Okay. All right. Let me pull. Where is it? Let me see. Bam. Here we go. Oil. All right, so oil, if you guys remember last week, we had talked about oil coming off that one level, right? There's a couple different smaller levels in here. I can go down to a 30-minute and play this one back. Here was that one ray that we had talked about last week. Oops. There was the one ray, and as you guys can see, there were kind of some of the pushes off of that one. Downside as well, if you guys remember, we talked about, and I wanted to save my last week. Well, actually, we'll do this one. I wanted to save it, and unfortunately, I had to update the PC. And when it came back, I was like, no, it's not there. Right now, I think topside, particularly going into tomorrow, I think we need to watch out for this 4104. It is a level that has been hit a few times, but it seems like it's been pretty strong. It was formed originally back here on, what, June 23rd, right? June 23rd was the original level. And there actually is one slightly higher at 4140. But depending on what happens in the overnight, remember, we hit it once, pushed down. We hit it again, that same 41 level, and it dropped. We're kind of approaching it now. It's a little bit of a base right below, which I typically don't like. But we may get the same type of entry in here as well. And again, this is what it would look like based off of, you know, kind of the same kind of entry. And you want to make sure that you have at least 3-to-1. The 3-to-1 is sitting right there. Is that a good level? Sure, that profit is in an area where we had basing and a bit of a pop. So I would say either of these is probably fine. There would be, you know, one potential top side. This bottom level, it's been hit a few times. You know, originally it kind of formed here, hit again, hit pretty deep again, you know, bounce, and then found buyers. I would say the top side entry is probably stronger than the downside. This downside, I would say, is probably more at risk of failing, but we know the price has been a bit more stabilized lower. Okay, on an hourly basis, you can kind of see that. There is one other level here. Okay, and again, price has bounced off of that in a spike and kind of stabilized itself, but that level is sitting down here at 35.59. Okay, price is currently at 40.74. Can it move $1.20 in the overnight? I guess it could, but that's quite a bit of movement to get down there before news tomorrow. Remember, last week was a really big miss. I think the more likely scenario is this will continue to rally up. We may get our entry late today, which could lead us into kind of a pullback and maybe even a full target before tomorrow. It really depends if this is going to stabilize or start to pull away, if it's going to consolidate. Remember, afternoon, this one continues to go a bit sideways a bit more. In preparing for tomorrow, this may be the overnight entry, but just be aware that we do have, let me drop it down to a 30-minute. There is, and again, I'm going to use a different, I'll do it here, and we'll change the color to red. There is another zone sitting right there. Let's see, well, let me go far enough back. Yes. There we go. Let me adjust this slightly. Ooh, it is a gap too. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. That's what I was looking for. All right. I'll explain what I just did in a second. Everyone's like, what did you just do? All right. So what I did is I ended up refining this down. I used the hourly, then went down to the 30-minute to really refine that level. Like last week, I talked about this kind of the same thing. If price got to here before news, we were looking to get short. Unfortunately, it did in the middle of the night, already hit its profit target before all the news kicked in, and the news was kind of like, blah. But we'd already kind of hit our entry and hit our profit target. Two levels. One, again, this one has been hit a few times. This one may hit. I would say there's probably an aggressive entry at 41.05. Okay, that would be one. And again, it's supported by sellers stepping in, sellers stepping in. We'll see what we can hit, right? There is another one higher that if this one does fail before news tomorrow, that there is a short sitting here at 41.57 to 41.73, okay? Now, you may say, okay, well, how can we play this one? Because at the end of the day, it's always what it comes back to. How do I play this one? All right, you can play this with binaries, okay? Binaries will typically work well if one of these two, if price is lining up with news, because we tend to get some type of a spike off of that. You could trade it with daily, but a lot of times there's a lot into that one. There is also knockout brackets for these, okay? The current knockouts for these for crude on a daily level, let me pull this over across. Right now, okay, right now there is a knockout with a ceiling at 41.75. That's the closest one, okay? 41.75 is right here. That's 41.76. So it's right there. Let me make this a bit bigger. It's right here. Let's see. No, it has to be something that contrasts. Right there. There's a buy. There is the knockout. So if price is able to enter close to this area, the lowest ceiling knockout. Actually, the knockout is, for those of you that are using the new platform, I guess you guys can't see the number, but it'd be knockout number 4 on the old platform. 36.75 to 41.75 is just on the other side of this level, just on the other side. So we were looking to sell here. That would be the one you were looking for. Because again, if our analysis is wrong, price will break through this level. Well, guess what? You're not really taking much additional risk. It's 1 penny, or actually 2 pennies above where the breakout knockout is on the top side. All right. So this could be something maybe today, maybe in the overnight. This would be one maybe for tomorrow morning, or maybe for later in the week, looking to take this knockout number 4 or the 36.75 to 41.75 knockout for people on the new platform. All right. So that's what oil looks like. Let me see. Can you use would make sense to use IGs? Yeah, Levi, you can use IG. If you're using IG, you can do it. Sure. They have their honestly, I've used both. I use MT4 because everybody has access to it. The IG platform, they have the MT4 you can download, but the IG online platform is really excellent. And it has a lot of similarities between the way that you can chart over there as well as how you chart on Nadex. So it's the same kind of, a lot of the programming is the same in the charting software. So if you're familiar with one, you kind of understand how to use the other one, and that one provides alerts. Can you put some oil on the oil entries? I think I just did that, Don. So I think I put the entries, but I can't unfortunately make this bigger, but I can tell you where the entries are on here. Let me see if I can see it. Hold on. Yeah, it's hard to see. So Don, this would be 41. Right down here would be, yeah, maybe I can do it this way. The text is 41.57. Okay, that would be this level here. And then I need text down here would be 41.04. Those would be the 2 levels. So hopefully you can see those. A Nadex trader that trades gold and oil trades at 9:30 Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. Is there an optimal time to place your commodity trades? Good question as far as the optimal time. Me, and again, this is me personally. I like to put them around news because that typically provides the most movement. Remember, oil trades typically happen between 8:30 and 10:30 in the morning. The oil news report is at 10:30 in the morning. So ideally, those are the ones that I like the most. A lot of oil trade setups, though, do happen in the overnight. So if you understand how to use limit orders with some of these Nadex binaries, they also provide great opportunity if you're able to take advantage of those in kind of the off hours. Okay, so hopefully that answers it. Again, it's all about setting limits. If you're going to practice limits for kind of away from keyboard entering trades using limit orders, make sure you do that in demo mode first. Okay, make sure you do it in demo mode first. All right, I just don't want anybody doing it wrong and end up losing money. All right. So, guys, with that being said, that wraps up today's session. Make sure you mark your calendars for Tuesday the 14th. 1 week from today. I can't believe that's halfway through July already. The year is halfway gone. If you have questions about anything that I said today, you guys are more than welcome to message me. Go to the website. You can check out some classes. Old-fashioned email works. That bottom one down here is support@keeptradingsimple.com, and I'll answer what I can. If it's anything that I can't answer, I will just forward it across to Nadex support for you. Thank you guys so much for being part of the presentation today, and I will catch you guys next week. Take care.